From our website, we have a number of pre-made documents and things that are run you through kind of that generic resume and cover letter format. Have you gone through the resumes?
Just a tiny little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and do what you do.
So one of the big things that we like to go through real quick with resumes is kind of the general format and why we suggest this format. Because as you know, if you go and ask someone from different companies, if you Google it, you're gonna get 17 different answers on how a resume should look, what should be in it, so on and so forth, and everyone always has the strongest opinions on what that should be. So what we've tried to do is take a resume format that really sparses it down to become the most user-friendly resume, both for you creating it and the employer who's going to be reading through it to see if you're a good fit for the job. To do this, they used to have an objective up here, and you'll see a lot of resumes still, if you Google it, will say objectives at the top. The point of an objective is to state the use of a resume. It's to apply and get the job. We found that to be redundant, and employers are starting to find that redundant. So we've switched this over to a professional summary, where you want to summarize who you are, what you're going to bring to the table for that particular job, the different skill sets you might have, and we always suggest ending it with something about why you're excited or what's drawn you to that particular company. The hard part is doing that in a very small, succinct fashion. You're looking at no more than 6 lines for that, max. We have some other resources and we can help walk you through that for the first time, but this is one of 2 sections that you're gonna change up every time you go to apply for a job. So this isn't something you wanna keep static. It's something you'll kind of change up or play with. Education, straightforward, this doesn't really change. What's your education in? What degree are you getting? Do you have any certificates or things you've done from a professional source? That's all gonna go here. We have it set up this way so that it's very easy and quick for employers to pick out information. So if I'm taking the 10 seconds or so an employer will take to do the first scan of a resume to decide if they want to go more in depth with it, you want them to see their company name in the professional summary to keep their attention on it. They want to know what your major's in, so they know if you're the right pick for this kind of job, where you got it, and kind of when you're going to graduate, and this gives them an idea of what, not age group you're in, but freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, kind of where you're at in your learning and things of that nature. And then once you graduate, you just put when you graduated, and then you're all set.
Don't forget to update that.
Yeah.
If you're doing it over a couple years.
Who here has had a job kind of in the field that you're hoping to get into at this point? No internships, jobs? Okay. So that is where your relevant coursework comes in. This is where you're going to give the company some of that hard evidence of what you've learned and talk about when you haven't been on the job already. Because a lot of times students come in, they're like, I'm not really sure what to put under my experience or skills section because I've never worked in the field yet. I've maybe done retail or some other odd jobs. Nothing in my field, especially for engineers, because you guys have a very specific and learned field you have to get to in order to get that experience, right? So when you're going to apply for that first internship, you don't really have much to put on there. That's where relevant coursework comes in. You're going to treat it like job experience, projects you've worked on, specific CAD design courses if the internship you're going into is CAD. If you're more on the computer side of things, have you done coding or network design? Things like that that you want to explore, and that's what you're going to put in the relevant coursework. That's kind of the big selling point you're going to have for the specific hard skills that your industry might require. The computer and skills section, if applicable. Computer or hard skills are again someplace that you can list programs or any other really those hard skills that you can prove to someone, be like, I know Excel really well, give me an Excel sheet I can show you, kind of skills. Soft skills are a little bit harder to just put on a resume and be able to talk about, right? Strong teamwork skills. When I just read teamwork, I don't know what that means. Have you worked in a team and not killed a teammate kind of teamwork? Or did you kind of take on a quasi-leadership role within a team and help bring a team together to make a project better, right? When I read teamwork, either one of those could be an option. So when it comes to those soft skills, you're gonna wanna put them somewhere in either the coursework or your experience section to show what you mean by a soft skill. Now, does anyone have any confusion or what I mean by a soft skill? Okay. So we kind of are going away from...
Go through soft skills anyway, just in case.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So a soft skill is something that you almost have to be on the job to prove you have. It's kind of the best way I have to explain it. Teamwork, kind of those time management skills. Again, you can say you have time management skills but without having something to tie to it. Again, are you never up on time kind of time skills, or is it time skills where you can manage 3 or 4 projects at the same time and get things done in an orderly fashion? So those soft skills are things that you often see on resumes that when you read them you go, that can mean a lot of different things. Versus a hard skill is, do you know CAD to an intermediate level? Do you know CAD to an intermediate level? You're not gonna, unless you're straight up lying about it, but that's a different issue. So those soft skills are customer service related usually. When it comes to how you interact and work with other people, tend to fall into soft skills and things of that nature. Outside of that, we'd have to get into more specific ideas and options. Under experience, this is another section where you'll see a lot of different versions of how people say you should put your experience on a resume. The two big ones that are often fighting are people are saying that you should do paragraph format and then bullet point format. The argument for paragraph format is that you can get more on the page and write it all in. Our suggestion is bullet point, because while you can give more detail in a paragraph, chances are an employer's not going to read a full paragraph. So how do you make it easier for them to pick out very specific points that you want to make sure they know you have? Bullet point it. The format's pretty straightforward. The company you worked for, what position you held, where it was, how long you were there. That again makes it really easy for an employer to look at it and go, I know that company name from this area. They worked there for this long, what position you held, and then you're gonna go into the specific bullet points of what you did while on that job. Now, it's very easy, and we see a lot of people that will simply put, you're gonna list what you did on a daily basis. Ran a cash register, worked with customers to make sure they got what they needed. While those are telling people what you've done on a daily basis and for that job, you're not really selling yourself at that point though. You're simply listing the duties you kind of did. This experience section is probably the second most important real estate you're gonna have on your resume after that professional summary. Each of the bullet points are going to be for a skill you want to prove to them you have, how much you used it, and how you're developing it. So you're going to want to start each bullet point with an action verb of some kind. Developed, ran, managed. What you did that with, and if you can, how much of it you did. Usually that comes down to employers love to see numbers. So if you can talk about how many customers you had check out on a quick basis, how much money you handled as an accountant under this, how many projects you're able to finish under a certain job or internship. They always like to see those kind of numbers that helps you kind of dive in deeper and give more detail. This is another one you're going to change up with each job, because you're going to want to focus on the skills and qualifications that job is looking for. And if you're sending in a generic resume to every job you apply to, you're then in with all of the other more generic resumes. There's nothing really pushing you to the top of the pile very often. But with our kind of easy to read formatted resume, along with customizing it to really fit that job, the idea is it's going to push you more towards the top. They know you kind of created this special. You're telling them exactly why you're a good fit for this job, why they should look at you more. Thus, they will probably look at you more. That's the big push and why we have this resume set up this way and why we have it. The other reason that it's kind of, I'm going to use the word kind of plain, is because of applicant tracking software. ATS systems are what companies use to quickly kind of work through a lot of resumes they might get. For larger businesses and corporations, each individual position can see upwards of 200 to 300 resumes per spot. No HR has enough time or manpower to deal with that many resumes right off the bat. So applicant tracking softwares help them basically grade your resume. And if you're not up at a certain point, they may not look at it. Now, applicant tracking systems do not automatically throw out resumes. There's no system that just says, no, you're not there and you're gonna get an automatic response. But a lot of employers, if they see a resume that comes up with an error or a very low percentage matching their job criteria, chances are they will go through and just say, get rid of anything under 40% and any errors. And what can cause some of those errors are template resumes. When you go into Google and you download a resume template that you kind of fill out, is full of those invisible boxes that can throw off applicant tracking systems, along with pictures or different designs that some people like to throw on because you want your resume to stand out, right? Like, I'm gonna add a picture, or I'm gonna add this different flair to really stand out to a resume. That can mess up applicant tracking systems and cause some issues in that kind of realm, so you want to be careful of that. So those are the main reasons we have this set up like this and our reasoning behind it. As I always tell people though, it's your resume. If you've got this gut feeling or something's telling you like, no, I need to change this up just a little bit, go for it. It might be the difference between something different. Because there is no magic formula to this is what your resume needs to look like to get that job. We're just really going to the most, this sounds kind of weird, we've created the most generic resume that's specific as possible. Is the best way we can kind of describe what we've done to try to help make sure that nothing small is going to be the reason you don't even get looked at, let alone hired. The one caveat to that, of course, is if you're going to something like a career fair or something where you're handing it out in person. If you want to add a little bit of flair to your resume at that point, that's different because that's going to be more you're handing it to them directly. You want them to remember you and what that looks like. So, I say again, play with it. Don't feel like you have to do it this way no matter what. This is not the God resume that's going to get you a job every time. But what it looks like and will up your chances in a lot of different ways to finding that job. You can go through this kind of generic resume, as I said, online. I showed you where it kind of was and where to find that. We also have a more specific one in the office that I'm going to get added and updated to this one. But it's written up not just in this kind of template format, but with an example of everything written out. So that way you can kind of see it in an example format.